Welcome to episode 31 of Inside Politics, for teens, by teens, where I explore the politics and issues impacting our generation. I'm your host, Christina Li, and today I'm focusing on prison reform. For this, I've invited Joseph Longley, Equal Justice Works Fellow at the ACLU National Prison Project. Joseph, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yep. So let's jump right in. So can you talk more about your work at the ACLU National Prison Project?
Yeah, so my work is focused on combating the opioid epidemic in jails and prisons. So I bring lawsuits and advocate for policy changes to expand access to medication-assisted treatment, medications for opioid use disorder like methadone and buprenorphine, for people who have opioid use disorder in jails and prisons. So right now, about 97 to 98% of jails and prisons don't allow individuals who have opioid use disorder to have basic medication. It's like saying to somebody who has diabetes, you can't have insulin, or somebody who has high blood pressure, that they can't have the high blood pressure medications. That would never be constitutionally allowed, but it, for some reason, is constitutionally, it's common practice, and we argue that it is unconstitutional to deny people the medication-assisted treatment while they're in jail.
Zounderstood. So I guess what are the key issues in prison reform in the 21st century now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, zooming out a little bit more broadly, as we're kind of in this, this moment of Black Lives Matter and really seeing on display the inequities in our criminal legal system, that prisons really don't do a whole lot to rehabilitate people. Yet we spend billions and billions of dollars, and we have about 22% of the world's prison population, but only 5% of the world's population. And I think it's really telling what we value as a society. Do we value rehabilitation and making sure that everybody has a chance to succeed, or do we want to be, extremely punitive?
Understood. So how does your work interact with policy on a daily basis?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think one of the interesting things about prison litigation and prison policy is that a lot of it is made by local policymakers. Only a small percentage of incarcerated people in the United States are in the federal system. Most people are in state prisons and local jails. And so I think it's a really exciting place to be because local and state politics are the place where most people are able to make the biggest impact. And so if you want to, reform prisons, one of the best things that you can do is elect DAs and state attorney generals who are going to have a more progressive mindset about sentencing and about alternatives to incarceration. So I think that there's a real opportunity right now for especially young people to get involved and make their voices heard, that mass incarceration is not who we want to be as a nation, and we can clearly back on that and reinvest those resources into things that make our communities thrive.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I guess for the teens out there who want to aspire to become lawyers, do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that for young folks, it's great to get involved now. And, I don't really have to tell Gen Z that. We see the activism that's happening in the Black Lives Matter movement and in March for Their Lives and so many other kind of Gen Z filled movements. And I think it's time for them to Gen Z to keep knocking on the doors of elected officials and policymakers and saying that we want a world that's sustainable, whether that's on the climate or whether that's in prison litigation and prison reform and making sure that people have a chance to flourish and succeed. I think that getting involved right now, there's not going to be a magic time when you feel like, an adult. I still feel like sometimes I'm just making it up. But I think that really goes to show that young people have an opportunity just as much as anybody else to make a difference in the issues that you care about.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess when we're talking about the issue of prison reform, and I guess to some people it seems kind of like far removed, in like in the case of if they don't personally know anybody who's been incarcerated, or if they don't really have an firsthand experience with, I guess, like like people who use drugs. So I guess like for those who are like kind of far removed, how would you, I guess, humanize this sort of issue and motivate them to take action about it?
Well, I mean, I think it's incumbent upon all of us to get educated on what's going on, and especially, given that the United States is kind of the incarceration capital of the world, it's really important that young people have an opportunity to get connected to incarcerated people. There's many programs where you can start being a pen pal with somebody who's incarcerated, and really get to know the human beings that are locked inside of jails and prisons, millions and millions of people all across the United States. And I think that to me, and I grew up, when I was a teenager, when I was growing up, I didn't know anybody who was in jail or prison. But when I went to law school, I got involved in some prison reform groups and was kind of interested in it from an abstract idea. But what really keeps me going every day are the amazing human beings that are on the inside of these jails and prisons. And I think that, it's really been a life-changing experience to realize that for a lot of people in the United States, it's there but for the grace of God go I to jail and prison. If under a different life circumstance or something had broken a different way, it's totally possible that I could have been in jail and prison. So I think it really gives us an opportunity to learn a lot about empathy and just who we are as a country.
Yeah, definitely. And I also understand that you've had prior experience working in communications. So I guess in the realm of advocacy and social justice, what do you see as the future of communications?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I mean, I think that we're seeing, every generation kind of transforms the way that we communicate. And, I think that social media has obviously transformed political communications and the way that nonprofits and policymakers communicate with the world. And I think that we're going to have to really continue to evolve. I think that, we see a lot of issues with the tech giants sort of having an outsized influence on our policies and on our elections. And I think it's incumbent upon young people and upon my generation to kind of make a kind of new set of rules where folks have an opportunity to communicate, but we're not, the powerful kind of forces on spreading misinformation. So I don't have all of the answers to that, but I think that Gen Z is going to be the people that are leading on this, because you all grew up with social media. I didn't have the internet when I was, till I was a teenager at all. So I think that you guys understand this intuitively in a way that we don't, and we'll be looking to you as leaders on this issue. It's super important.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think we can all learn from each other, all learn from different generations and take their strengths and
Totally.
sort of unify and work together for like one unified cause and make change. And I think that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I guess in the current pandemic, and I guess like with the upcoming presidential election that's been on everybody's minds, do you have any advice for how teens can get involved politically? And like on this topic of communications, like usually you would like phone bank and canvas, but I guess like with the pandemic, do you like have any alternatives that teens should do?
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, phone banking is something that people can do. And obviously I'm not, endorsing or supporting any candidate in particular necessarily, but, I think that getting involved is really important, and doing it safely is also obviously really important as well. I know that letter writing is another thing that a lot of folks are doing, text banking, phone banking. I think engagement with the democratic process is, what we need to do. And I think it's a really exciting time to get involved. And yeah, you're right, the election is just less than 50 days away. So now is the time.
Yes, definitely. All right. Thank you so much, Joseph, for being on my podcast with me today. I really appreciate it. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see everybody next time on Inside Politicz.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. This is Christina. Thank you so much for watching Inside Politicz, and please feel free to check out the rest of the interviews on my channel. See you next time.